So my disclaimer is that I am not a body person and this is totally out of my wheelhouse, but I want to show you something I've done. My car had a bunch of clear coat problems like this and like this, and I had a big spotch on my trunk lid here and on the other side. And if you're going to re-clear coat it, you want to use this 2K product. It's the only product to do at home if you're going to do a clear coat. It's a hardener inside there. So we don't want to use just a regular clear coat. This is the best stuff there is. Now unfortunately I didn't show you how I actually prepared it and sprayed it, but I am going to show you how I'm going to end up finishing it. So let's take a moment and take a closer look to see what it would have looked like. So this is what happens when the clear coat starts to come off. It starts to flake like this. And so when I do mine, I like to do the entire panel. That's why I chose to do the trunk and I didn't do this area, because I would have had to do the whole quarter panel if I wanted to. Now I could try to blend this in, but I don't know how to do that. And I have a similar circumstance on the hood, but I don't know. I'm hoping you can get this view. If you look at this trunk, and I'm going to try to zoom in on it, there has an orange peel to it. Now what orange peel is that the clear coat has high and low spots in it, and it ripples across there, making it look like the surface of an orange. And that's due to spray painting it with that can and also the inexperience of putting on a clear coat. So you can see the ripple in the paint, and you can see the siding of my house as a reflection. So the clear coat left a nice shiny surface, but it has that orange peel ripple in it. One last disclaimer: since I have had no official professional training in this, I'm sure there are a lot of body and paint people that will scrutinize or chastise me for what I'm showing you. But just judge for yourself. This was the least expensive option for a paint repair for me, and I'm happy with the results. You'll also notice that I did not remove any of the emblems, and therefore I just worked around them. When I spray painted the clear coat, I put multiple layers of coats on there, and the orange peel is from high spots. So I'm going to use a series of wet sanding, and I'm going to start with an 1000 grit. I'm going to work to a 2500 grit and finish off with a 3000 grit before I hit it with some polishing and some rubbing compound. You can buy it in sheets of this size, or you could buy something like this 3M over here. So wet sanding is exactly what it sounds like, and we can do it a couple of ways. I can use the hose to keep it wet, or I can use a bucket. But I've folded my paper over a little bit, and don't freak out because it'll make it dull, but you do want to go lightly here. You got to be real careful because we only want to take off the high spots. We don't want to get down any deeper than that's necessary. And I like to do a series of small circles and large circles, keeping it wet like this. And I'm going to show you this in just a minute, just so you can see what we're looking at. Now if you can do it when not bright sunlight, that's better. However, it dries quicker, and I can show you this video. So we're just going to come in with a towel here real quick. And dry that off. And at first you're going to say, well, that looks terrible, but just wait. It'll get a lot better. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing the high spots being lightly sanded off of the lower spots, which creates that orange peel there. And I want to take it down, so I either have removed all the high spots, or I'm just a smidgen left where I can finish it off with some finer sandpaper. We don't want to go down any more than we have to. We just want to remove those high spots. And when we get done polishing it, you'll see it'll come out looking like glass. So I like to work in sections, but be real careful when you have a bend here or this ridge right here, because it's really easy to put too much pressure and get down too far on that. And you need to check this from time to time. So get yourself a clean rag, wipe it down. And this is where working in the sunlight is an advantage, because it's hot out here. This will dry quickly, and it'll give me a chance to see where I'm at. If I do this in cooler weather, it takes much longer for this to dry off. It's much harder for me to see how far down I've gotten. One of the things I didn't point out before is, notice I put some masking over here so I wouldn't accidentally sand the wrong part. But I'm down to a point where I've got most of the high spots out. Hopefully you can see that there's still a few high spots showing up. There are some spots where there are no high spots in it. There's a spot up here where it's all gone. This is the time where I want to move to my 2500 grit paper and try to take out the rest of this. And I'm working in sections, and I'll do the other part after I get this part done, and then I'll buff the whole thing out. When you get to this point, I have about 95 or greater percentage of the high spots have been sanded down. I'm going to move to a 3000 grit now. And you're going to be really light and gentle. The closer you get to this surface here, the lighter touch you put on here. I got to be real careful not to push too hard. So let's go ahead and see if I can get close up so you can see what that looks like. Very few places that show any of those high spots. Of course, you can compare that to the spot where I haven't done yet over here. I'm going to do one last final with the 3000 before I am ready to hit it with the rubbing compound. So let's go ahead and get it wet. And with the lightest of touches, just some nice big, a little bit of small, a little bit of big circles. I'm just trying to remove scratches, smooth out any coarse scratches that might be in there just a little bit. Makes the buffing go a little bit easier at the end. There's almost absolutely no pressure going down on this whatsoever, just the gentlest of pressure. And this is going to now be ready for the rubbing compound. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the car trunk over here. And I'm going to finish that off so it looks just like what we got over here. And then I'll go ahead and do the rubbing compound, show you how that's done. My trunk is all ready to go now. I've sanded down the high spots and I've prepped it. I finished everything up with a 3000 grit. Hitting it real lightly at the end here to try to get rid of as many scratches as I could. It's all dull, and I know some of you are going to ask me, well, why didn't I do these areas down here? And the reason is because I did those a week or so ago, and I needed to test this process out before I showed you. So that's already been done. So I'm focusing in on everything from above these emblems. And I know that these should have been taken off instead of going around them. But this is a low budget fix my trunk paint job and make it look as good as possible without spending hardly any money and keeping the time input to a minimum. So originally, a long time ago, I bought a kit from Meguiar that came with a compound, a polish, a liquid wax, and a dual action sander that fits on the end of a drill. And it came with 3 different pads. I've only got one of them out here, and that served its purpose for a while, but it was kind of slow. The size of the pad is kind of small, and it's hard to hold the drill bit and do everything and get a good job. I did a little research. I looked to see what other people were doing out there, and I did some YouTube, and this is what I ended up buying, this Porter Cable 734 6SP, and this is a orbital sander, or you might call it a dual action sander, and this is around $120, so it wasn't too bad. I got mine, I think, on Amazon. I could have purchased it at another site for about $10 cheaper, but I didn't know when it would arrive and I wanted it sooner. I also took the time and I purchased a second pad, and this pad number is 54745, because I'm going to use one pad for my compound, the other pad for my polish. And it also did come with, I added this into the kit, this lamb's wool polishing pad. This is what I'm going to use when I want to buff out my after I put on my wax. So that'll be my wax, finishing up with my wax with that one right there. This is a little bit heavy, but it's not too bad. It's got some settings right down here on the handle. So it's got a speed setting right down in here. And I found either a 4 or a 4.5 works pretty well. 5 gets a little bit fast. You got to be careful because you could take too much off. So just be careful with this tool. And I am using the Meguiar, and I bought an extra bottle of this compound right here. This is designed to be used with a power tool. Some compounds are not to be used with a power tool. However, this one specifically said that it could be used with a power buffer. So this trunk has gotten hot, and I don't want to compound a hot paint here. So I'm going to just rinse it down. I already washed it off, so I know it's nice and clean. And I'm going to do it in sections. I'm not going to compound everything all at once. Make sure that you shake up your compound really good. I am going to put some compound on my pad here to start with. Now when you want to check your area, you're going to rinse it off just like you did when you were using your sandpaper. I like to just kind of do this, and this is probably not the right way to do it. I go real slow. Watch how slow I go. I have just finished compounding the area I was working on, and you can now see the contrast between the side I did and the side that I did not do. I have finished with the compound on the entire trunk and it's looking pretty good. I could have worked it a little bit more to get a little more luster, but I'm happy with the way it looks now, so I'm going to proceed with the polish. I will be using the same process, except I will now be using the polish instead of the compound. So I'm just going to finish off with the Meguiar's polish. Once again, you want to give it a good shake. Put some on your pad. And just as you were before, make sure it's not too hot. So here's the finished product just before I put on my wax. And it's not perfect, but it's clearly acceptable to me. It looks 1,000 times better than that peeling paint that's on there, and 100 times better than the orange peel that was on there. So before I actually do the wax, I am going to wash it one more time. Use your favorite car wash soap and make sure you scrub down good. You need to get off any compound or polishing stuff that's on there. You need to get that all off, and then we're going to apply a coat of wax on it. Here's a clean microfiber rag. Shake up your wax. And rub it in. So it turns out my Porter cable adapter doesn't work with this sheepskin pad. I'm going to finish this off by buffing this with a clean microfiber cloth. That's amazing. Look at the glass shine on this. I see no orange peel whatsoever anymore. If I catch the light just right, I can see some swirls, but this is more than acceptable. This is beautiful by my standards, and the cost was my labor mostly.